Hello, this is Dave, W7UUU at the Radio Club at Tacoma, and today we're talking with Gary.
Hi, my name is Gary McAdams. I'm WG7X, Whiskey Golf number 7 X-ray, and I live in beautiful downtown Lakewood, Washington. I got my license here at W7DK in 1987, and I've been a ham radio operator ever since. That's 36 years. I got my call sign in the mail the Monday after field day in June 1987.
How did you hear about ham radio that got you started into it?
I started listening to radio in general back in the days when you would drive at night and your car radio was on. You'd listen to the clear channel stations coming in across the on AM broadcast, and that segued into interesting SWL shortwave listening. I was stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma in the 1970s, and the weatherman there was a ham radio operator. He used to, when the weather was bad, he would always get reports from the storm watchers at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I was in CB in those days, but a lot of the CBers that were with me got their ham licenses, and one of them gave me an SX101 receiver for ham bands only, and I started listening to the local ham radio operators. Plus, I just had an interest in scanners. I had Radio Shack FM receivers I could pick up Dallas, Texas from Lawton, Oklahoma. So I was interested in that sort of stuff well before. And so I just kind of merged into ham radio. I didn't get a license, and that would be the mid-70s. I didn't get a license until like 1987, so there's a gap of about 20 years. And strangely enough, I was back in the CB. I moved here to Washington State in the 80s, and there was a guy here who said they're giving a class at Radio Club at Tacoma. And as they say, the rest is history. Because the only thing they taught at the class was CW, Morse code. They didn't teach anything else. And that's all I needed. That got me started. What I like to do about ham radio, I like it all. I've served with the club in most positions of the club, everything except treasurer. I'm going to be a secretary this next year in 2024. That should be interesting. But I've held every position in the club.
So you're past president 3 times, right?
Three terms. We didn't have term limits around here.
So what was it like being president of the club?
You know, one of the things about being a president of any organization is you learn how to work with people, because I was an introvert, like a lot of ham radio folks are. We hide in our basements and talk on our radios. But when you're a president or an officer of a club, you learn how to talk to people to get their stories. And so it helped me a lot. I'm much better speaking in public than I used to be. Don't get quite as nervous in front of a crowd because you have to get up and say stuff to people. I enjoyed 3 terms, and I wasn't in the club president to change anything. I wanted to keep the status quo. We had a good club going, and I wanted to keep it that way. And that's what I did. I was also on the board. The board's fun, though, because you don't have the responsibility of the president. But the president actually serves at the pleasure of the board. So it was an interesting education for me. I enjoyed it.
So what are some of the fun things that you've done with the club, things that stand out as the most fun sorts of events like field day and that sort of thing?
Field day is probably number one. Like I said, I missed field day by 1 day in '87. I had all my equipment set up, but in those days, the club, unfortunately, wasn't very open to newbies. They didn't even invite us. We passed the class in April or May. We got our licenses, and like I said, I got my license in the mail in June. But I was there the next year, and I've been pretty much to DK almost every year after that. We did field day under my call sign twice. We did it with 3 ham radio operators with a friend of mine out in Enumclaw, and that was so hard. We put up 3 towers with mono banners on it. We had a VH. It was hard work, so I came back to the club. And I've been doing contesting here at the club. It's a lot of fun to do contesting here. There's a contest called Sweepstakes. I'm sure most amateur radio operators are familiar with that. And I wasn't really big in the sweepstakes, but I used to contest at Jerry W7 Baker, Uncle Nancy's place out in Puyallup. He's now assigned at Key. But he kind of got me into contesting seriously. And one of his favorite contests, because he was an old ARRL guy, was sweeps. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just stateside. But it's fun working all of the sections and they keep adding more sections. The Canadians keep coming up with new sections every day. So when you're done sweeps and you've worked all the sections, ARRL and RAC sections, you get a pretty good sense of accomplishment. And that's also Salmon Run. It used to be just something we did for fun, and now we use it as a fundraiser. And that's also a lot. You get all 39 counties. It's kind of an accomplishment. And you get to talk with the people and go downstairs and have pizza. It's good to be part of a club.
So Salmon Run, of course, being the Washington State CUSA party, right?
Yes. We do it every year now.
Well, what kind of modes do you operate? What's your modus operandi, so to speak, in the shack? What do you like to do when you're on the air, and how often do you get on the air?
I get on the air just about every day. When I was first operating, I like talking on single sideband. That was my thing. I love 10 meters because it's a wacky band. It's my favorite band. It was a natural because I'd been experienced skip when I was on CB. I had a 2-watt radio, and I never got out past the outskirts of town, but it was interesting listening to the DX coming in. And so when I became a ham radio operator, I immediately went to 10 meters. I like meeting people, talking to people around the world. So phone is my #1 mode. Of course, I did CW Morse code to get the license, but it never was my favorite narrowband mode. RTTY, RTTY, is my favorite narrowband mode. And I set up for RTTY, and I still operate that. And phone is still my favorite. I still like 10 meters. It's my favorite band. You get some of the weirdest DX on 10 meters that you don't see on any other band. Plus, you can do AM, FM, single sideband, CW, RTTY, all in the same band. So that's my favorite band. And RTTY is my favorite mode, but RTTY these days is mostly for contests.
How do you feel about FT8?
I love it. You know, the thing about FT8, it's every time a new mode comes around. When Spark was king and CW Morse code continuous wave comes, those guys, that's not real ham radio. And then when phone come around, the CW guy, those guys talking, that's not, So there's been resistance to every new mode that comes down the pike. But FT8 is a mode that allows a lot of people who could not have any real chance to work DX because it can decode signals well below the noise floor. It's another tool in the toolbox. I worked a DX station yesterday on 12 meters, CW split.
Which station do you remember?
Tango 2 Charlie.
T2C.
Yeah.
Tuvalu, yeah.
I got him on 15 CW. He was pretty loud, and I only ran 70 watts and got right in. So I do all modes, but FT8 has been a game changer in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, it sure has.
Yeah.
So what do you see as the future of ham radio if you were to do a crystal ball view of, say, 25 years, 50 years, 100 years from now?
Well, I see the future, immediate future, the handwritings on the wall, digital modes are the way of the future. The next thing you're going to see, and it's already happening on FM, is digital audio. In other words, you'll see people talking into a ham radio, which then is get digitized and sent all over the regular ham bands and modulated on the other end. I think the analog modes, Morse code, single sideband, AM and FM are still going to be around. Digital modes get better and better. You're going to find that people are going to segue to take an analog voice, digitizing it, and then reassembling it on the other end. So that's going to be the future of ham radio. And I think the Radio Club at Tacoma, we have a mission to get more people into the club, young people, because our average demographic right now is in the mid-60s and going higher every year. So we have had recently some outreach to the local folks out here who do things with kids, and we're going to be in our clubhouse next month. They're going to be exposed to radio, and those are the people of the future. We need to make sure we get younger people at ham radio in general, not just the club, but Radio Club of Tacoma. We've been around for what, 106 years now?
106, yeah. I think.
And I think we have a good future if we can attract ham radio operators that are a little younger than we are.
Sure. So any other thoughts that you have about ham radio that you want people that, I mean, somebody could be watching this video 50 years from now for all we know.
Well, again, the thing about ham radio, we all have things we'd like to do. Some folks like to fish. Some folks like to race cars. Some people like to build cars, model cars, railroad trains, HO and stuff. So we're another esoteric splinter hobby. But it's been for me, I've been a ham radio operator 36 years as of this year. And I've never found anything that I didn't like to do. I like it all. So for me, it's been an adventure. Like I said, it's made me a better person for talking and coming out of my shell. So what can I say? I think I like it because I had a nice conversation with a guy in South Dakota today. Um, I had another nice conversation with a guy in California. And very interesting about the guy in California, he was licensed in 1954, which is the year I was born.
Wow.
He's been licensed longer than I've been alive.
Wow.
And I thought, because he talked about his beginnings in radio when he used to climb towers when he's 16 years old, and he's 86 now. So you never know who you're going to talk to. And that's what makes it interesting. I mean, you just never know. Now, that guy, I was feeling old until I talked to that guy. I think the Radio Club of Tacoma is one of my favorite places to be. I want this club to be existing in the future. And, well, like I said, I got licensed here, right downstairs in the same building.
Sure, sure.
The place has changed. We've refurbished it, made it better. We get better every year. And I want to just have that keep going on.